For such a tiny little village, this is an impressively huge railway station, but what's more important about it is that it's actually built on an international border. I am in Germany, and I am in the Czech Republic. This is Life on the Edge in Bayerisch Eisenstein.
The station was deliberately built on the border, one half in each country with its own ticket hall and waiting rooms. Disappointingly, although it was planned to have trains running through, this rarely actually happened, and instead each country's trains terminate at their respective ends. The nearest thing to an exception is when a Czech locomotive has to be run around to the other end of the train because apparently the Czech rail operator still runs trains without drivers' cabs at both ends. Bayerisch Eisenstein is a small village in the Bavarian forest, a truly remote place for a railway line. Its name refers to the fact that it was founded as a mining village where there was iron ore to be found. In fact, it was more than just this one village, it was the whole valley. Now, at this point I could have taken a train, but I chose instead to walk to the Czech village of Železná Ruda. And of course, since both countries are signatories to the Schengen Agreement, there are no routine passport controls, at least not at the time of filming, and you can usually just walk across the border. And when I did, the first thing I saw was this.
Now, I'm not 100% certain about this because I haven't actually found any information about this particular thing, but given that the area was known for glass making, I assume that this is a reproduction of a glass kiln.
Which I think is a reasonable assumption because, as you might know if you saw my recent video about Zwiesel, glass making was another very important industry here. These days, though, the Czech side seems to have specialised in getting Germans to spend their money.
And this is actually quite cool. So this is an actual relief map of the area. So you can see here, this is the Bavarian forest and this here is the Bohemian forest. This line here, I don't know if you can see it very well, that's the border. And we are right here.
For the sake of accuracy, we should say that the Bavarian forest is just a part of the Bohemian forest, but since 1830 it has been common practice to distinguish between the Bohemian forest in Czechia and Austria and the Bavarian forest and the Upper Palatine forest in Germany.
So just a few tips for anybody who's thinking of doing the same as me. Number one, don't believe your wife when she tells you that since you're 700 or 800 meters above sea level, the temperatures are going to be several degrees colder than they are back home. Second, remember that even though the Czech Republic is a part of the European Union, it has not yet adopted the euro. It still has its own currency, the Czech crown. And third, remember that even though there are no regular passport controls at the borders, you are still legally required to have either a national identity card or a passport with you when you cross the border.
It's an easy 3-kilometer walk to Železná Ruda, and I need the exercise. So I eventually found myself in a village with the distinctive Church of Our Lady of Perpetual Help of the Star, as well as a 19th century hunting lodge which now houses, for some reason, a motorcycle museum.
The Czech Železná Ruda, and I hope I got the pronunciation approximately correct, is a direct translation of the German Eisenstein, and that is in fact no coincidence because a long time ago this place was German. There were two settlements here, one called Eisenstein, which eventually became Bayerisch Eisenstein, and this place, which was known as Markt Eisenstein. It was only later that they were separated by a border and a language.
The first settlements in this valley were founded in the 16th century as a fiefdom of Duke Albert V of Bavaria. In 1708, during the War of the Spanish Succession, the area was occupied by Austria. Then, in 1764, a treaty was signed that put the border between Bavaria and Bohemia across the valley, separating Eisenstein from Markt Eisenstein. The region was still majority German-speaking though, and in 1938 the Munich Agreement was signed, or as the Czechs call it, the Munich Betrayal. Basically, it allowed Nazi Germany to annex the German-speaking parts of Czechoslovakia. After the Second World War, Czechoslovakia reclaimed the land and the German-speaking population was driven out. The railway through here was opened in 1877. The ambitious plan was to have trains running from Munich to Prague, but that proved to be unrealistic. The line has steep climbs and lots of twists and turns, and it remained a local single-track line. Few passenger trains crossed the border even after the Munich Agreement. The station at Eisenstein, which was renamed Bayerisch Eisenstein in 1951, was built on the border, with each railway company taking one side. Today, the German half is called Bayerisch Eisenstein, while the Czech side is given the name Železná Ruda Alžbětín. And those of you who know your 20th century history might at this point be thinking, hang on, didn't the Iron Curtain go through here? And the answer is, yes, it did. In 1953, the Czechoslovakian authorities physically closed the border, and Czech trains terminated one stop early at Železná Ruda itself. West German trains could still use the station, but with no onward connections to Plzeň, it suddenly lost its most important function. During the 60s and 70s, West Germany was concentrating on the motor car as the transport of the future, and for a while it looked as if this line would be closed down completely. Fortunately for Bayerisch Eisenstein, that didn't happen, and in 1991 the Czech half could be reopened. The huge station building was completely renovated and is now a tourist attraction in its own right. It wasn't a huge surprise to discover that I wasn't the only person there with a big camera. Today, the station houses a museum run by the Bavarian Forest Nature Reserve, which includes a fascinating exhibition on the effects of the Cold War in the area. Next door is a railway museum, and the whole region is popular in the summer for hiking and in the winter for skiing. From the German side, there is an RB train every hour from Plattling. From the Czech side, there is a connection roughly every 2 hours from Plzeň via Klatovy, and 2 trains a day from Prague.